covering the world of professional wrestling from post to post. A show for the Busted Open Nation. This is the Nation Corner. Here are your hosts, Front Row, Tony, Justin, and Debhausen.
What is up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to the Nation's Corner. I am Front Row. Joining me, as always, is Tony Justice, the greatest truck driver of all time, and Debhausen, the great and powerful. What's up, people?
What's
up?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Ready?
Tony's giving us the gun show already.
Shooting blanks.
Is that legal in this part of the country? I don't know. Just check.
I'm in Kansas right now, so it might be legal here.
You have a permit to carry? You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, the chat is blowing up already. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I see Brian Rosa's in the chat. Mrs. Front Row. I see Hijacker, Steven, Fee, all the way from the UK.
Hey.
What's up, Fee?
What's up, Fee?
And, of course, Chris is in there. I see Chris.
Yes.
I see you, Chris. Seth, oh my goodness, the whole crew's here present tonight. So, okay, a ton of stuff happened in the world of wrestling this week, and we sat down and tried to figure it all out, and we decided we were just going to let it fly tonight and cover things as it came up, because it seems like there's a lot of interconnective tissue between the companies now. Like forget the forbidden door, just people are just all working together now. Like that's gone out the window, right? So there's all kinds of stuff to talk about with that. Deb, where should we start tonight?
Oh, Lord. Should we start with Royal Rumble?
Yeah, that's a good call.
Head right in the deep end.
That's a good call. So this week, obviously, the big news last night was the announcement of the Impact Knockouts champion, Mickie James, being added into the WWE Women's Royal Rumble match. That's a big deal from a marketing perspective. Of course, the caveat there is, will she win in her match tonight, which we're going to cover in a little bit? Will she still be the Knockouts champion when Royal Rumble time comes along? Time will tell. But I think it would be super cool for her to be able to carry that title over onto a WWE pay-per-view or premium live event, I guess we're calling it now. There's no pay-per-views anymore. But what do you think about the names that were advertised for, at least let's start with the Women's Rumble?
Yeah, so the surprise names, the not current roster names, we have Mickie James, we have the Bellas, Michelle McCool, Lita, Kelly, Summer Rae. That's quite a bit of a shock to me as well. So those are like the non-regular roster names that have been announced. Yeah, I just think it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting that not only are they bringing in Mickie James, who currently holds a championship for another company, but they're bringing in names that have, like Summer Rae. I don't know where she's been in the past year or so, but she was working hard on the indies there for a little bit after she left WWE. So it's kind of surprising to bring her back and to have these names announced instead of having them be surprise entrants.
So how many names were announced total? Was it like 17 or 18?
I think 18.
Okay, so that still leaves 12 question marks. And that's
19 actually, 19.
Okay, so let's say 11 people haven't been announced yet, and assuming that there's going to be at least one more person from the roster, because I don't think that's everybody on the roster, but it still leaves 5 to 7 surprises.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's keep the conversation to who we would like to see appear across the industry who are active. We know that there are going to be some veterans that are going to come in, and that's fine. That's great. I think that's cool for a Rumble appearance. But if you were to say, okay, the Forbidden Door is no more, and you look across the entire industry, who would you like to see make a surprise appearance that would really shock things?
I think if we're really going out there, Britt. That would really shock. I do agree with Chris. Lacey Evans, I'm hoping is going to make her return. I think it's the right time right now. Oh, Sean says Lindsay Snow. That would be awesome. But yeah, if you want to make a splash, if you want to get those headlines and get that viewership up, bring in the current champion of their closest competitor.
Yeah, I think so. The interesting thing about that is, and I'm a huge Lindsay Snow fan. She's been on the show before, and I'm a big supporter of hers. But I don't think the WWE audience would know who she was, or a good portion that would know enough to be excited if she appeared at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
now,
correct.
My pick would be the current Ring of Honor Women's Champion, Roxy. Because you can present her. She isn't as known either, but people know what Ring of Honor is. And if you introduce her as the current Ring of Honor Women's Champion, if she is still actually the title holder, that would be pretty cool too. And we know she recently had a tryout. She posted she had a WWE tryout. So who knows?
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting thing for her to appear there. But if you look over at Impact, to me, you have names like Su Yung, Jordan Grace, Deonna Purrazzo. I mean, there are big names from Impact over on the obviously on Mission Pro. Like we're seeing big matches from people like Genocide and Holodead and La Rosa Negra. Obviously Thunder's the big name there too. But man, there's so many exciting, talented people that they could bring in.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see.
I think that, along with Lacey Evans, which Chris mentioned, and a few others have mentioned, I've been seeing her. She's working hard in the gym, trying to get back in ring shape. So I feel like Lacey Evans would be a good pick. And I also think Bayley is right there ready to come back from an injury too. I don't know how long, I don't know how healthy she is or whatever, but I think Bayley could be ready to come back at the Rumble too.
Yeah, I think Brian's trying to get me in trouble here in the chat. He wants to bring in TB, and we all know who TB is. I don't think that's likely.
Yeah, I don't think so either. My thought is, is the Forbidden Door coming through WWE, is that a one-off for a Rumble, or is this something that they want to continue doing? And how would that fit into their whole current business plan of seemingly moving away from pro wrestling into more of just an entertainment that happens to center around wrestling storylines? Like how would that fit into their current business model when they've been releasing a lot of wrestlers who are good pro wrestlers in favor of bringing in athletes that they can mold?
Well, there's two pieces to that, right? The first piece of that is Mickie James is a legend in WWE. She has a WWE talent first and foremost, right?
Yeah,
she's done stuff other places, obviously, but she's essentially a returning WWE talent who happens to be holding a title for another company. That's all very cool, but that doesn't indicate a major partnership. That, to me, says one-off. However, as Tommy Dreamer says, however, we know that the documentaries that they've been producing have been using a ton of Impact footage. So there's obviously a business relationship there behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Are they bringing that over to, actual roster sharing? From a business perspective, you have to look at it and think, any collaboration has to benefit both parties. So obviously an Impact talent being in the Royal Rumble helps Impact. How does that help? How does that help WWE? Well, it's Mickie James. Okay, fine. But if Su Yung comes over, does that help WWE at all?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it would, because like you mentioned, a lot of WWE fans who may not necessarily be privy to the wrestling world outside of WWE, they're not going to know who these people are. I personally have, some friends here at home that for the past 30, 40 years, the only wrestling they've ever watched is WWE. And, they're not on social media like we are to really hunt down and, learn about anything else. So, if someone like Su Yung or Lindsay Snow comes in, they would have no idea who that person is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, and there's a couple of points in the chat being brought up I think are interesting. Mrs. Front Row says, is there an integrity compromise by going back there? And that sort of does reek of a payday. But everything's a payday, right? So if it's worked out for them and they're all happy with the arrangement that's been made, then that's fine, I guess.
Yeah,
I did think it was funny. I did think it was funny that Pat McAfee referenced the garbage when she was announced.
Yes.
Which terrific. I love Pat McAfee.
Yeah, Pat McAfee is gold. But I think this appearance at Rumble is likely just setting up for a possible Hall of Fame induction. They tend to, whoever is being inducted, they tend to try to bring them in for a short storyline just, for that announcement. Or just a couple appearances. So yeah, I feel like that's probably part of it. It's probably just a good payday for her, and they came to some sort of agreement, obviously.
And it's interesting because you look at, and I think the women have done a better job of this than the men, and it's obviously just the arrangements that have been set up. But you have people like Mickey and Thunder and Camille and people who have worked across multiple promotions this year to raise their stock. Right. And I see Brian in the chat's also suggesting that, NWA could possibly bring in Camille to get on the Royal Rumble. I don't know how many people from WWE would recognize Camille, but it doesn't matter because like Jade, she presents herself as like this statuesque, muscular champion and holding the NWA title. The NWA title means something to wrestling fans. So I think that's a good call. I don't know if they'll do it, but it would be pretty cool to see her show up in NWA and AEW and WWE in the same 6 to 8 month period.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
I do too.
Okay, so if we were to then apply that logic to the men's side, right? Let's assume for a second that the door's wide open and they're going to look across the entire industry as opportunities for the men to come into the Royal Rumble. I don't really know what the count is right now because they're still adding people, right?
Yeah, I think they were only at a few.
Right. We know Johnny
and no
Knoxville's
surprise
in.
names. Yeah.
Well,
Other than Knoxville, no surprise names.
I mean, he's my pick to win, clearly.
Yeah.
And go on to main
obviously.
event WrestleMania.
Yeah. He's looking good with the whole Jack Frost hair he's got going on there.
Yeah. But if you look outside of WWE, who would you like to see in the Rumble that would be, again, from active competitors? And I'll kick it off. First and foremost, I would love to see Kazuchika Okada show up in the Royal Rumble. I think that would the internet would blow up.
Yeah. I think if they were going to bring in some men, I'd like to first see Nick Aldis. I think that, we know that he has grown so much in the past couple years and he's been the NWA champion. And, he has this stature about him now since he was the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And I think for him to walk into WWE with that kind of swagger that he has would be really good.
Yeah. I'd love to see the Savage Gentleman, Victor Benjamin, into the Rumble. I would love that.
He'd be great. It's all about name recognition. I don't think he's a big enough name for people to get a pop yet. We would pop, our Zoom would pop. And probably a lot of people on social media would be excited. Mrs. Front Row is suggesting Aaron Stevens, but as Aaron Stevens, which I am.
What, no Mizdow?
Nope, not Mizdow. Just come in as Aaron, t-shirt and jeans, the whole deal.
Okay,
I'm here for it.
I can dig it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh, Shane Taylor Promotions. I'm seeing Kenny Omega. There's some good. I mean, Sami Callihan.
Sammy Callahan would be great.
MJ,
Brian, I don't know if WWE can handle MJF.
I was just about to say MJF. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Just have him walk out and just start spitting fire out of there. Just have a microphone as he walks through the entrance and just start annihilating people in the crowd.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you curse on their pay-per-views or
It's
premium live events?
It's a premium live event. It's
Premium
Peacock,
live,
right?
so you're paying for the premium. Come on, bring it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it would
There-
definitely make headlines, and the internet would be like, "What?" But
Yes,
I don't
it would. I think. Let's see who else.
You guys are doing good in the chat. Keep it up. Keep it up. I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, Nick Gage. Mark says Nick Gage.
Oh.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I'm not so sure about that.
Oh, complete with light tubes? Oh.
Could you imagine Nick Gage coming down that ramp and just hitting like Sheamus with a light tube?
Sheamus should
I
just
want to see him hit
not
Vince
sell it.
McMahon with a light tube.
Well, the contrast on his skin would like make the blood look really, really good.
That's
an idea.
Another guy that made a lot of headlines touring the United States this past year was Minoru Suzuki. And I mean, that would definitely make headlines if he showed up in the Royal. I know that there's a lot of travel restrictions right now with Japan. People we know that were supposed to do some tours over there, some talents that had stuff lined up had to get canceled. It's kind of a mess right now, but just fantasy booking. Like, I'm just going to go back to the women's match for a second. I'd love to see Maki Ito in the Women's Royal Rumble. I think she's tremendous.
She is. She's amazing. I like her a lot.
And you don't have to know who she is. She would just come out, and by the end of that match, you would know who she is.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's what she's there for.
So let's talk about the people who were in those matches from a champion's perspective. So we know on the women's side, like Charlotte is in the Women's Royal Rumble, and she is currently the SmackDown Women's Champion. How do you guys feel about the champion being in a match where they could win an opportunity to face the champion? Like, it's sort of a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
It is a weird thing, but they could, possibly if she would win, then she would have a shot to face a champion, so she could face the other women's champion and, do a whole 2 belts thing again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like
they could do that.
If Roman and Brock have that match, belt for belt, champion for champion, then why wouldn't the women do the same thing? And if Charlotte wanted to do the same thing and challenge the other champion,
Right.
Yeah, and RA suggests, this could be a setup for unification. And whenever we have this conversation, I always throw out, they're on different networks. If I'm a network executive, I don't want my title being given up or having, losing one of my champions that's on my show. Now, the argument there would be that one champion would be on both shows. They would be doing double duty, which eliminates opportunities for some people when there's only one title. I think, when you take away a title from a division that already doesn't have enough storylines, then you're limiting the amount of people that will have reasons for being on TV.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I do agree that they wouldn't unify them just because they are 2 different networks owned by different companies. AEW, it's a little different because both of the networks that they're on are owned by the same company, so they would be able to go back and forth. That's no problem.
Yeah, and that's what Chris is saying in the chat. Mark Henry, I guess, discussed that today on the show, and I did hear the show, and I forgot he brought that up. But yeah, so it's definitely a corporate thing. But the same thing for the men's side, like they shouldn't unify those titles for the men's or women's titles. Like, so I'm fine with them, with each show having its own set of, titles, and then keeping like the secondary titles as singular, the US and IC title. So you guys saw the interaction between Brock and Paul and Roman last night, and I'm not quite sure where they're going with this. It feels to me like Roman being out 1 week completely upended everything. I mean, we don't know. We're not in the writing room, but it definitely feels like him not being there forced them into a direction that could be really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I think they had to pull an audible when he was out for a week. And so I think they're just trying to maybe figure out where they go from here. But I do like the interaction between Heyman and Roman and Brock. That even though Heyman is seemingly on Brock's side, he's still acting like he's intimidated or afraid of Roman. And I think that furthers Roman's character, that Paul is still afraid of him even though he's not by his side.
Yeah, I have a contradicting opinion on that. I mean, I enjoyed the go between Roman.
Hot take.
Yeah, hot take. I enjoyed the segment last night with Roman and Brock, but I did not enjoy when Paul started coming across just the way he was coming across. I mean, I understand people thinking, he's like the torn girlfriend caught in the middle. I understand that, all that. And it's doing is further in the story. Right? I don't get seeing Paul so stoic with Brock, and then with Roman, it's like he's bowing down. And I know it's elevating Roman's character. I get that, but I just, for some reason, it didn't hit me right last night when I saw Paul, acting the way he was in the ring. I mean, I understand that it's further in the story, like I said, but it was just me. It's just my opinion.
No, I think that's a valid point because I kind of felt that too. Everything Paul does is great. He's just at a level that everything he does is good or great. But it felt like the subtleties of the story he was telling with his comments towards the end were lost on people. It did sound like the girlfriend who was saying, well, you weren't here. Right. I found comfort in this other person while you were gone. And now that you're back, I still love this other person. It is definitely like this. It's a very convoluted way to look at it if you're not reading it on the page. Like I kind of felt like it was lost on the live crowd as well. They weren't really sure how to react to it because Paul came across as sniveling as opposed to his sneaky conniving self, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's sniveling. I just think it's really showing the power of Roman that he can make Paul, intimidated.
Yeah. Right. I get it. But like I said, and Hijacker just said in the chat that it could be a ploy to possibly double cross Brock, and I can see that happening too. Like I said, we'll see. It's further in the story, and that's what you want, So we'll see.
Can we just pause for a second to give Brock Lesnar credit? And this is me saying, a guy who was super critical of him for the last 3 to 5 years. The work that he's done since he's come back has been astoundingly good. Like he's always been good. He's always been a general in the ring. I'm never going to throw a flag on his work in the ring. Obviously, he is who he is. But the stuff, he's been surprisingly and outlandishly good on the mic. Like this week when he mimicked Paul Heyman and did his own entrance, all the stuff he's been doing behind the scenes and the backstage interviews, I honest to God never thought Brock was capable of this type of comedic stuff. He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely will second that. I have been super critical of Brock the past, however many years it's been. The fact that he was champion for so long without defending it, just the fact that he didn't really do much in the ring, if I say so. I don't want to sound insulting. But no, this new Brock Lesnar is definitely what I think we needed and what we wanted without knowing that we wanted it.
Right.
If you want a good laugh, my friend who runs the Catch Wrestling Twitter account, Catch Wrestling U, he took Hillbilly Jim's entrance and applied it to Brock's video entrance. He put the music, and it's hilarious. I'll try to retweet it later from our account, but it is really fun. It will make your night. Yeah, and so the other thing I wanted to touch on with regards to this segment was Roman came out and addressed the crowd, and he did something really smart, and only people from the Northeast would have caught this, I think. When he addressed the crowd, he didn't address them by the city or the state. He addressed them as New England. If you're from that
Okay.
area, and Deb, you know, New Englanders are a group. And,
That's true. I've never been up to New England, but I do know that.
yeah, we only live
that
like 4 hours from there. So
right.
so
That it's not. Yeah, it's you're not. You don't say I'm going up to Maine. I'm traveling to New England.
right. So instead of saying Hartford or Connecticut, he said New England acknowledge me. Like it was the biggest geographic area he could address without addressing the camera and the at-home viewing audience. And it was just a little thing that was like, okay, he's hyper aware of everything he's saying and the effect that it's going to have on the live crowd, because the live crowd was probably from all 6 states.
Yeah.
They probably drove because it's a small area. So if you just address the city, well, 90% of the people probably drove in.
Right.
It's little stuff like that the attention to detail that you can tell he thinks about this stuff all the time, because there's no holes in his game. So, so I'm excited about that story. The storyline's been a year and a half now. Roman's doing just some of the best work in all of wrestling. So let's move off of that for a second. I want to jump over to AEW, and I'm going to rely on you guys a little bit because I missed part of Dynamite this week. You know, some of the stuff that happened on Dynamite was very exciting, and some of it was very scary. Which do you want to start with, Deb?
Oh God, why are you picking me?
Because Tony's smiling, and I just, you know, I pick on Tony.
When am I not?
Right. Tony's always smiling.
I've seen you hungry. I've seen you hangry before.
That's true. Okay, so let's start with the good first. Let's start with the good.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Front Row.
No, you go ahead. You know more. Like I said, I missed the first part of Dynamite, so you're gonna have to help me out here.
Okay. Actually, Tony.
Well, let's talk about MJF and CM Punk.
Okay.
Because,
there we go.
Oh my God. They continue to do stuff that makes you feel like you really think that they hate each other. And I don't even care. Like, I don't want to know if they do or not. But at the end of that promo and the barbs that they threw and Punk's comment about the, what was it? Main eventing night 4 of the buy one get one free extravaganza.
Yeah.
I popped, and I've been critical about them throwing shade at WWE too often, but it was a good line. It was a real good line.
But it's
so I think. So one thing, people are super critical of them throwing shade at WWE. I don't consider it throwing shade. In like most of the comments that they make referencing WWE, I don't think it's throwing shade. I think it's more of just using that as background for the story. Like, it's CM Punk. How can you not once in a while reference his WWE career?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's necessarily a jab at WWE. It's just referencing and using the history.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting because, you know, I see Chris is saying in the chat saying that MJF murdered Punk, and I'm going to disagree because I think Punk's line was a better line, although it was more targeted at his former company than MJF. It wasn't a direct shot at MJF. He was just saying, "Okay, go ahead, go over there, and then you'll get released, you know, as quickly as you know, and all that stuff." So, but I do think MJF's line about, you know, at least I'll main event WrestleMania, which is something Punk didn't do, but almost the entire segment was geared around the other company, which continues to be an issue. You know, it seems like every Punk or Jericho promo has centered around that, or Cody for that matter. A lot of his stuff was focused on it.
But there's so much history there, though. That's the thing.
There is, but like sometimes they're just taking shots at the company for the sake of doing it, and it doesn't really it doesn't build that, hey, we're our own thing here, because they keep going on social media, and Tony Khan's on the radio every week saying we're not paying attention, then we're doing our own thing, and you go, yeah, you are, because like your programming's full of references to it. You're hyper aware. Clearly from his responses, from the stuff that we saw last week, clearly he pays close attention to social media and some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, though. I think a lot of people are just too critical about every time they say something.
Right.
Yeah. But I did think it was a good segment. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was gonna switch gears. Go ahead if you're gonna still talk about MJF and.
No, I just thought it was a good segment. I thought that it got the pops that they were looking for. I'll be interested to see where they go, because every time they're together, I feel like it's a good back and forth, and the overall war is still ongoing, and it's a week-to-week battle. So,
right. Well, I'm going to do what I do best and shift gears into Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson. That match was fire. At ringside, they had Jerry Lynn, Mark Henry, which was good to see Mark Henry sitting ringside as a judge. But
with the gray in his beard, he's looking good.
Yeah,
he decided to he stopped dyeing it. I remember he said that he was dyeing it for WWE TV, and now he's just himself, which I like.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
He's distinguished. But even though I enjoyed seeing him out there, I don't know what purpose they served. The match was great. I mean, what did it go, like 30 minutes?
About 30, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you had it all. I mean, you had blood. Both of them busted open pretty good. The harkening back to the jumping jacks. Bryan Danielson doing the jumping jacks. But then Hangman Adam Page got his jumping jacks in too. So it wasn't as one-sided. It was, they were both throwing those shots at each other, and I thought that was like. One of Hangman, of course, the 1 hour draw was a great match for Hangman Adam Page, but this one here, where he actually successfully defended his title and won, that is going to speak more volumes than that 1 hour draw. So I thought that match was great.
Yeah, and Tony, I want to get your opinion on this, but just to touch on the judges thing, because I thought this was really, really important. They had 3 highly qualified judges out there to call this match should it go to the limit, right?
Right.
They didn't use them. And that's fine, because that sets up, because if they had used them, then it would telegraph the end. Like when you saw the judges out there, you're like, well, obviously they're not going to put these 3 people out here unless it's going to go 60 minutes and then the judges will be used.
Mm-hmm.
But they took that away from us, and they said, no, we're not using them this time. So people were critical of them being out there and not being used, but I'm like, no, this is perfect. So every time they're brought out as judges, you're not going to know what the ending of the match is going to be in the future, because they clearly don't need them every time, which is the point of having the judges out there. They may or may not be used. Right. So I thought it was really smart that here they're laying the groundwork for a month from now. If they need the judges again, it doesn't guarantee the ending of the match. It goes one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a good precedent to set that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And of course, Brian mentioned Jade Cargill and Ruby Soho. That match, for the TBS Championship. You had Jade's family at ringside. You had her daughter at ringside, so you kind of figured, okay, well, they're probably going to, at least I thought. They're going to have Jade win the championship because her daughter's at ringside. Wow. But we kind of figured that's the way they were going to go with it. And I thought it was a good match. It had its hiccups, but I think that it was a good match overall. I think Jade has come a long way. I think Thunder took her to the limit last week.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. We've got a new TBS champion in Jade Cargill.
Yeah, and thank you, R.A. Ruby Ver. For those of you that don't know the reference, watch recent episode of Ethan Page's vlog where he takes Ruby Soho to Buc-ee's in Jacksonville, has her wear the Buc-ee's beaver onesie and walk around the entire store. And yes, they did run into a fan that recognized her and asked for an autograph and a picture while she was wearing the onesie. So
Tremendous.
Nice.
yes. So, and now Ethan Page is trying to start the hashtag Rubyver. So, there it is.
So with this match, I thought it was Thunder's match with Jade is, in my opinion, Jade's best match to date by like a country mile. Obviously Thunder is who she is and was able to help Jade. But obviously Jade did the work in that match. She worked very, very hard to put on her best performance. I don't feel like, and I don't, like, we're not behind the scenes. We don't really know. We only know what we see on TV. And for me, I watched Jade and Ruby, and it just didn't have the chemistry or the timing or whatever it was. Something was missing that made me go, that wasn't great. Like, I thought Jade and Ruby would be better for the championship, for the title match. Like, I thought that they would have saved the best match for the finals.
Yeah.
And that's not what we got. The problem,
Right.
or rather, I shouldn't say problem, but the challenge now is finding competitors or challengers for Jade that will be not just squash match after squash match. And those are needed. Like, I understand if she's going to build up. Brian's saying that Thunder bought Ruby that onesie.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that in Thunder's vlog when she presented it to her, and Ruby was not happy at all.
Oh, no,
Really?
she was not happy walking around Buc-ee's. She did, however, say that the Rice Krispie treats was very good. So she said, I have to admit that.
So there's a couple things too, and I think one of the things that was interesting is when Thunder and Jade had their match, there was almost no criticism. It was a very good match. People were only critical of the fact that they wanted to see Thunder win. Like, okay, people are
Right.
fans of hers and they wanted to see her win this title, or at least advance to the finals. And because Ruby and Thunder would have been a great match. So, all right, fine, I can buy that. But of course, in our group, we're like, yeah, but we want her to hold the big title. We want her to go on and, challenge for the AEW World Women's Championship. And go, okay, fine. That will probably happen over here. But what do they do with Jade? They only have a limited number of people at the top who can go through. So for me, I understand that Jade's going to need some matches under her belt. For me, I would have her defend every week on Dark and Elevation. I don't care if they're squash matches. Just let her continue to get ring time. She has the presence. She has the look. She has everything except for 10 years in the business. So whatever you have to do, whatever work she has to do behind the scenes to get there, and she's an incredible athlete. I'm sure she's capable of doing all that. And her future is very bright if the work gets put in. So
Yeah, I agree. She's definitely got major potential. We know she's an athlete. She's got the look. She looks phenomenal. So yeah, she's gotta put in the work, and she'll get there.
agreed.
You
So
better
now
start
that
Oh, did he freeze? Oh, there you go.
she's got
Tony froze up on us.
Oh, well, good thing, because I was singing. So there you go. Good thing it
Oh, your singing's nice though.
You broke the internet.
I did.
So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for all that stuff. I'm going to be interested to see what happens with Mercedes Martinez now that she's here. We saw her at ringside. We saw Thunder do a run in, and they brawled to the back fairly quickly. So tomorrow night, or tonight, actually, right tonight, is Battle of the Belts. And Deb, you want to lead us through a little bit of what we can expect to see tonight?
All right, let me pull up my card list.
Well, while you're looking it up, I know one of the matches that I'm excited about is Britt Baker versus Riho. And
Yes.
Riho is, to me, as tough as nails because she's small, but she's really tough. Former champion. She's had very accomplished, Joshi wrestler. I don't know what to expect out of this match, though. I really, really don't. So
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think there's obviously a size difference. Rio is so small, but she's a great competitor, and I think she's gonna bring the fight to Britt. For those of you in the chat saying you don't know what Bucky's is, I've never been there either. However, it's been described to me that it's like Wawa on steroids. It's like Wawa, but with a big store attached to it, with like a general store and all their own merch and crap.
It's way bigger than Wawa. It's way bigger.
Yeah.
It's more like a Walmart.
Yeah,
it's about
they're
as big as
based
a
in
Walmart.
Texas. They have a location in Jacksonville, and I think one in the Atlanta area.
They're going up. I've noticed, there's one in Alabama, and there's one in
Okay.
Jacksonville. So yeah, they're branching out from Texas. Texas is the home base, but it's like a Walmart gas station. It is the biggest gas station in the state of Texas, and that's saying something because Texas has a lot of big stuff. But the only thing I do not like about Buc-ee's, because you can go in there and get anything you want. The only thing I don't like is they don't allow trucks at Buc-ee's. So I always say they don't allow truckies at Buc-ee's. And I asked the manager why, and he said because trucks leave behind oil stains on the concrete. And of course, truckers who don't pick up after themselves, who throw their trash out on the ground or whatever, well, they've kind of spoilt it for everybody else. So that's the reason why
Oh
they don't allow
Lord.
trucks at Buc-ee's. So, I mean, to each their own.
If you want to get a good view on Bucky's, watch Thunder's vlog when she brought Dave LaGreca there,
Yeah.
because they do a nice pan of all, like, I don't know, it seems like 100 gas pumps, but they do a pan of the outside, and then the inside they do a big sweeping shot of the inside, and they will do a walkthrough. It is friggin' enormous.
On Ethan Page's vlog with Ruby, they did like a parking lot shot, and they literally must have walked around the whole store looking at everything for, I would say, probably an hour at least.
Yeah.
They looked at everything.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on.
So tonight, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
15 minutes.
So then we have Ricky Starks and Matt Sydal for the FTW Championship, which is quite interesting. That'll be fun. I love Matt Sydal. The first ever WWE live event I went to, I saw him, and I took an awesome video of his little flippy thingy.
Can we pause on that for a second?
Surely.
Pause on the flippy.
I'm a huge fan of Ricky Starks. We saw him first in the NWA. Massive fan, super nice guy. He doesn't fit with the FTW vibe.
No, not at all.
But neither.
And frankly, yeah, Matt Sydal doesn't either. They're not what embodies the FTW.
No, you're talking Eddie Kingston, Nick Gage, brawlers, scrappers, people who are like, will do anything, will bite your ear off, or whatever it takes to win or to just beat you. And that entire vibe, I feel like, hasn't been brought into AEW the way it was in ECW.
Yeah.
Right. And I wish Taz would just step up and say, no, we're resetting the division, like we're resetting this title. You guys don't meet the standards of what it means to be an FTW champion, and then they could have a tournament or whatever, or some street fight, or like something in the middle of a field. I don't care, but make it interesting.
Yeah, I think it needs to be put on someone like Kingston or Mox when he returns. Someone like that who has that attitude.
Yeah, and Sean says Hook's coming to get that title, and I get that, but Hook doesn't look like an FTW champion. He's a kid.
No, right.
I mean, he's not a kid, but,
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes. Yeah.
I
agree.
Eddie Kingston would take his lunch money.
He'd lift him by the ankles and shake him upside down. Okay, so then we have Dustin Rhodes replacing Cody against Sammy Guevara for the interim TNT championship. Whatever that means. I mean, I know what the word interim means, but I'm not sure why we're having an interim championship title match.
Yeah, I don't know either. And, they did announce that Cody was out due to medical reasons. And speculation online is that it's COVID, but I don't think I've seen anything formally announced about that or whatever. But it is weird because an interim champion usually is someone who is, you remember when the UK, what was it, the North American champion for NXT was, crap, I'm forgetting who it was, but he was stuck in the UK and couldn't come back over, and they had to rename a champion, and then there was a storyline where they had to fight it out for the title. Does that mean that when Cody returns that he automatically gets the title back, or does he have to fight for the title? They haven't said. And if Cody is out due to COVID, which again we don't know, he could be out for a week. Like, does that mean Dustin's the title holder for a week and then just has to give it back, or is there a match? Like, now, if you're going to give me Cody versus Dustin, I'm all day. One of the best matches AEW's ever put on.
Yes.
Was that brother versus brother match.
Yes.
So I'm cool with however that works out, but I just wish they'd be more specific. And maybe they'll make more of an explanation of it tonight. Yes, that's what Brian's saying too. A Cody Dustin match. I totally agree.
And that would be awesome. I'm all for it. Bring it.
Yeah. They had a classic the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Too much blood.
One of the best matches in AEW history right there was Cody and Dustin.
Too much blood? Come on. Come on.
It's gratuitous.
Gratuitous. I gotta tell him that. I gotta tell him. Anyway.
So those are the three matches advertised for tonight, and we were supposed to go tonight. It's here in Charlotte. Just due to everything that's going on, we didn't really feel comfortable being in a large crowd. But I hope the folks that went had a good time. I did want to take a moment to say that we're proud to work with Mission Pro and people like that who are taking everything seriously. Mask protocols where needed, where enforced where appropriate, things like that. But I'm seeing wrestling shows where nobody is, and it makes me a little nervous to be in a large crowd of 10,000 people when the numbers are what they are. So I'm not going to go into a whole political thing. It's just I was nervous, and for our own personal decision, we didn't go tonight. But I do hope that everybody has a fun, safe time there, and I'm looking forward to watching it on TV.
Yeah. It's going to be a great show tonight. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. So there was a few other things we wanted to cover, but let's talk for a minute about two things. First, I want to remind people to go check out Thunder's vlog from today. It was really friggin' funny, especially if you're a Busted Open fan. Dave, Mark, Gabby, Andre were all in it. It's a short vlog because the 45-minute version is on the Patreon, and it's uncensored and unfiltered and uncut. It's really friggin' funny.
Cool.
I don't want to spoil anything for you, but you got to go see it because Mark Henry is a friggin' riot.
When is he not?
He always is. No, but he's always Mark. He does this thing with a little kid that's hilarious. Like, it's tremendous. Although Thunder does say "fuck them babies," so
Oh, okay. Well,
Mark.
I can agree with that, Thunder. I can agree with that.
Spoiler alert.
Wow.
So go check it out. If you're a Patreon subscriber, I think the entry level is like $5, and then there's some exciting stuff that she's doing in the other tiers as well. But go give that a check. Go give that a look. But I was dying. So the other thing we were going to talk about is the Impact pay-per-view tonight. Hard to Kill, right?
Yes, Hard to Kill.
And of course, the match that you wanted to talk about was the women's match.
Yes. So, frankly, I was not going to get this pay-per-view until earlier this morning when I was listening to Busted Open, and I thought to myself, oh man, Mickie James and Deanna are going to have a death match. Like, I really have to see that. And on top of that, Cardona is going for the Impact World title in a triple match against Moose and W. Morrissey, formerly known as Big Cass. So those two matches have sold me to buy this pay-per-view. So I highly encourage other people to buy it as well, because I think these two matches are going to be quite a show.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
I
If
think
you haven't ordered it right now, order it.
Impact's doing some exciting things, and I hope that they continue to grow. They're getting more. They're getting newer and more exciting talent over there. And honestly, I don't even watch their weekly shows because I overload it with wrestling stuff. But whenever we watch the pay-per-views, especially their bigger ones, they're always terrific. You don't even have to.
Yeah.
They do a good job with their video packages, bringing you up to speed with everything that's going on. And I always and they're underpriced, so I always feel like you get your money's worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I agree. I don't normally watch their weekly show because, like you said, sometimes you need to take a day off from wrestling. Like, there's just so much. So, you got other shows to catch up on. I got to watch Yellowstone. So, I don't always watch their show every week, but I have watched most of their pay-per-views in the last, I'd say, year or so.
Yeah. Well, last weekend was dominated by Cobra Kai, so.
Yes.
Y'all are speaking my language.
How does that show get better? How does it just get
I don't know.
I love it.
I don't know.
love how they tie in the old school to the current. I love it. I love how they do the constant flashbacks and tie all the characters in. Oh, it's awesome.
Some of the references are subtle too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we only have a few more minutes, but I want to touch on a couple more things real quick. Next weekend, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to do a more comprehensive coverage of Mission Pro's Crazy Train pay-per-view coming up on the 29th. I know we've touched on it a little bit here and there, but we'll do more in the coming weeks. I did want to mention that there was big news in the NWA this week. They've announced a new programming and a package deal. So their new deal is $50 a year, and you get absolutely everything. Every episode of Power, NWA USA, and all their pay-per-views. And if you add all that up, I mean, it's terrific. I would like to pay $50 a year and not worry about it again for 12 months and just watch everything.
Exactly. Much, much better than, worrying about buying the pay-per-views every month or a couple months. $50 for a whole year to get everything. Sign me up. Perfect.
Yeah. For the price of one AEW pay-per-view, you get an entire year of NWA.
Exactly.
So,
right.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're going to be back on YouTube.
Yeah.
That'll get more eyes on the product. I had seen some people on Twitter just kind of saying that they didn't like that they had to pay just to watch their show. So now you have the option to watch for free, or you could pay to get more.
Yeah, and so the subscription gives you first run Power on Tuesday nights, which is I think when the post show is going to be still after the debut of Power on Tuesday, or you can wait for Friday for the episode to air free on YouTube, which is fine. You're going to get more eyes on your product, and I think the diehards for short money are probably going to watch on Fight, and then you'll get your casuals who will want to save a little bit of money. It was only $5 a month, but still.
Still, $50 a year isn't much different than $5 a month. So
yeah,
it's better.
I'm excited for the folks over there. I know they're growing, and there's a lot more exciting news coming up. There's some pay-per-view announcements that are going to be coming up pretty soon. I think for the March or April timeframe, and we have a lot of friends there, and I'm super excited for them. So, and if you watch this week's episode of NWA USA, which debuted today, you'll see some familiar faces in the front row, namely Front Row. And all of us, and
gee, I wonder where the name comes from.
And Trenda probably yelling at somebody. So shout out to Trenda for constantly yelling at people.
Well, that's different. I've never seen Trenda yell at anybody before. No, so unlike her.
Okay, so we've got 3.5 minutes. Anything else we want to cover tonight so we can get everybody out and over to their TVs?
I personally want to just thank everyone for being a part of my life these past 2 years, or however long it's been, almost 2 years, whatever. It's been awesome. You guys are awesome. Everybody in the chat is awesome. And I want to thank Thunder and Brian and everyone at Mission Pro.
Yeah, I'll echo those sentiments, man. We talk about it all the time, but during a pandemic when everybody was quarantining and separated by virtual and physical walls, like as a group, the shout out goes to Dave LaGreca for bringing us all together and Busted Open.
Uh-huh.
That was what initially got us all together as a group. Now we're going all over the country, touring shows, going on vacations, going on all kinds of exciting adventures together. We're still a group that talks every day in the Discord, on social media, on Zoom. It's exciting. It's very exciting. And I'm very, very proud to be part of this group.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a very unique, one of a kind thing that we have going on.
Yeah.
I have to echo everything y'all just said. I mean, every time we get together, it's just more memories being added to the pool. I mean, we've made some excellent memories last year with each other in person, and 2022 is a brand new year with brand new memories. So let's go.
Yeah, I did want to mention RA is talking about Mission Pro's Crazy Train. RA, I just mentioned that, sir.
Sir, for you listening.
Good day, sir. So before we drop off, I did want to bring Hijacker Mike in, our producer. He wanted to wrap up for us and have a couple closing thoughts. Hijacker, what's up?
Yeah, man, I just want to bounce off of what you guys were saying. It's been great meeting everybody. We got some good last year with the bad of COVID, and meeting everybody in all the locations. Everything is just cool. Just the love we share for wrestling. Like you said, we may not be able to catch everything together, keep up with everything together, but we all come back with a common bond with wrestling in mind. I love you guys. I love everybody in the nation, everybody I've got a chance to meet. And I just want to give a great Eagle Fang Cobra Kai roundhouse kick to everybody in the group because I love it.
Eagle Fang!
Guys. Keep rocking. Love you guys.
Thanks, Hijacker.
All right, thanks, Hijacker. All right, so any last words before we give them 30 seconds back here?
Well, okay, like Chris said, let's go smoke some damn cigars or whatever else you're smoking.
I'm with that. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope you have a great week, and we'll talk again next week. Later.